If you want to learn more about ancient structures, human evolution, ancient inventions, new archaeological discoveries, theories surrounding the ancient world, ancient queens, actually you name it when it's ancient, yeah, subscribe to the channel, click that bell icon if you want to be notified whenever I upload, and maybe consider becoming a Patreon or a channel member. It's just an idea. Could Homo Antecessor have dabbled in cannibalism? Did these archaic humans actually eat their own? More on that later in this video. But first, I want to ask you, who was the first species of human to inhabit Western Europe? If you said Homo heidelbergensis, then I'm very sorry, but you would actually be wrong. Because before Homo heidelbergensis started to roam around in Europe, there was another species living in the area. They're known under the name of the pioneer man, but in scientific terms, they're actually called Homo Antecessor. For those of you telling me in the comments that I should not be calling these species humans, I would like to note that the scientific term of Homo literally means human. So I've not been saying anything wrong here. Please stop attacking me for stuff I did not do wrong. My name is Kaylee, and in this video I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about Homo Antecessor, the pioneer man. And yes, near the end I will tell you about that possible cannibalism, so sit tight. If you've seen my previous video where I explained the difference between the hominids and the hominins, and I showed you the evolutionary timeline, you know that we are in the genus of Homo, in the tribe Hominini, in the subfamily of Homininae, in the family of Hominidae. Of course, all of this started way back with the hominoidea, that I joked in that video should be pronounced as hominoidea instead of hominoidae. I know how it's officially pronounced. I did look it up before the video. I just thought it would be funnier and probably would linger more in people's brains if I said it in a hominoidea, which actually worked. I would also like to mention very quickly that the Hasbro footprints that were found on the beach of Norfolk in the United Kingdom are most likely footprints from Homo Antecessor, as they are presumed to be the only humans living around Western Europe around that time, which was over 800,000 years ago. So now that you know where we are in the evolutionary timeline, we can start looking at the discovery of the first fossils of Homo Antecessor and where this actually happened, because I'm sure you want to know. So where were the fossils of Homo Antecessor discovered? This happened in the Gran Dolina cave at Sierra de Atapuerca, which is an archaeological site in the province of Burgos in Spain. The first fossils were discovered in 1994, and in 1997, the species was officially given the name of Homo Antecessor, and up until that point it was believed that Homo Antecessor was the last common ancestor of both Homo sapiens, us modern humans, and Homo neanderthalensis. Although this information has since been updated, and it is now believed that Homo heidelbergensis is actually the last common ancestor of us modern humans and Neanderthals. Yes, a video on Homo heidelbergensis will be made very soon. Just sit tight while I make my way towards it. We have a lot to cover. It is a lot. At this point in time, there are over 80 fossilized remains found that represent at least 6 different individuals. They were found in both the Gran Dolina cave as well as at Sima del Elefante. The oldest fossils are dated to be from approximately 1.2 million years old, and the youngest fossils actually date to approximately 780,000 years ago. Of course, as I have mentioned a couple times now in a few different videos, Homo Antecessor could have emerged earlier and lived up until later. It's just that the current fossil records show us these dates, and conditions have to be quite perfect for bones to actually fossilize. So this is why fossils never give us the full scope of a timeline. Fossils always give us an indication, so that's something that you need to remember. So the name of Homo Antecessor is quite a giveaway in itself. Homo, as I mentioned at the start of the video, means human, and antecessor stands for pioneer, explorer, or early settler. The reason why this species carries the name antecessor is because it is believed to be the very first species of archaic humans to populate the European continent, completely up until the west, the northwest. So as of now, the only place where the fossilized remains have been discovered of Homo antecessor is in the Sierra de Atapuerca in Spain. It gave weight to the hypothesis that Homo antecessor is actually a very late Homo erectus. Some even say that it's a Homo ergaster, but as I explained in my Homo erectus video, this could be just a regional difference within the Homo erectus species, or it is possible that Homo antecessor is actually a very early Homo heidelbergensis. On this, I am not the one to give any conclusive information, as it is not certain without a doubt, but as of this point in time, Homo antecessor is seen as its own species within the Homo genus. It is believed that Homo antecessor may have traveled through the Levant, which is the eastern Mediterranean region, and eventually arrived in Spain in Western Europe. For a while it was actually believed that Homo antecessor made its way to Europe by crossing the Mediterranean Sea, some 300,000 years later, but this was only thought to be the case when the oldest fossil dated to be from approximately 800,000 years ago. When they found the fossils dating back to 1.2 million years ago in 2007 or 2008, the anthropologists knew that Homo antecessor had to have traveled through the Levant to get to Europe, as the Mediterranean Sea level was much higher 1.2 million years ago than it was 800,000 years ago. Almost all fossils that we have of Homo antecessor at this point in time are of children, as there are only 2 individuals around the age of 20 whose fossils were found. So as you can imagine, there isn't too much known about what they would have looked like, what their height would have been, and other basic information that we can only derive from adult specimen. Thankfully, there are at least some things known about Homo antecessor and what they would have looked like. So let's get into that, shall we? There is quite the unique combination of modern and archaic features in the morphology of Homo antecessor. They are truly quite distinctly different from the other fossils in the Homo genus, and this is the reason why they have been placed in their own species. Their brain size was approximately 1,000 cubic centimeters, which compared to the 1,350 cubic centimeters of modern Homo sapiens, it's not too big of a difference. Their body shape and size seems to be similar to that of us modern humans, but a tad more robust, if you will. This is thought because of the ankle joint that is similar to that of Neanderthals. The joint is adapted for handling high stress, and this is an indication for a heavy, robust body, like we see in the Neanderthals. And yes, one time I say Neanderthals, and the other time I say Neanderthals. I don't know which one sounds better. I'm just doing a thing. It seems that Homo antecessor was not a skilled climber, but they do seem to have been able to throw spears and stones. Males averaged between 160 and 186 centimeters in height. The phalanges and metatarsals of the feet are comparable to later humans, but the big toe bone seemed to be more robust, like we've seen in Homo erectus, for instance. Their skull actually had some modern traits, like hollow cheekbones, projecting nose, and a modern-looking midface, while the skull still showed some real archaic features, like a low forehead and a double brow ridge, like we see in Homo erectus and Homo neanderthalensis. The chin of Homo antecessor seems to have been a receding one. The mandible, or better known to some as the lower jaw, was thinner than Homo erectus or Homo habilis. So now that we have at least somewhat of an idea of what Homo antecessor would have looked like, of course we would need to find out more fossilized remains to uncover more of this information about their morphology, but I do think that this is at least a good start. So during the excavations at the Gran Dolina cave and Sima del Elefante, the archaeologists discovered more than 250 stone tools and a couple hundred animal bones dating between approximately 1.2 million to 780,000 years ago. The stone tools include simple flakes, cores, hammers, choppers, and retouched flakes as well. They created quite simplistic stone tools, and it seems like Sima del Elefante was a tool napping site, as archaeologists have found many flakes here that showed clear evidence of manufacturing techniques. There is, however, not much evidence of retouched tools, and at Sima del Elefante there is a complete absence of retouching tools. This suggests that the tools here were created almost only for the processing and eating of meat and marrow. At both Gran Dolina and Sima del Elefante, there are many cut marks present on the animal remains. These cut marks are very consistent with the marks left behind by humans processing and obtaining the meat and marrow from the bones. It is suggested that Homo Antecessor was a nomadic species that mostly followed their food sources and that they did not live permanently at caves, but rather visited these caves at either certain times of the year or possibly for certain activities. It was believed that the climate was generally warm and humid, similar to that of today when Homo Antecessor lived in the area between 1.2 million years and 780,000 years ago, during the Valian warm stage. The climate changed to a very harsh and cold one, very harsh conditions, and it was cold, around 600,000 years ago. But it is not clear if this is the reason that Homo Antecessor actually disappeared from the area, or if they had already retreated and disappeared before the climate had changed. It was, however, in this colder climate that we saw Homo heidelbergensis emerge in Europe, and after them, the Neanderthals. So it's not to say that cold and harsh climates are making it uninhabitable. I would never say that. So I started this video with a question. Could Homo Antecessor have been a cannibal species? There are fossilized human remains from the Gran Dolina cave that show cut marks and fracturing, which is indicative of cannibalism and are quite an obvious sign of butchering. It seems that the bodies of the dead were very efficiently utilized by the remaining living. Ribs bear cut marks along the muscle attachments, which is consistent with defleshing. It seems that the meatier areas of the body were prepared and eaten, and the rest of the body was smashed and discarded. It could be that under dire circumstances they had to butcher their own for nutritional purposes and survival. There is also some evidence of significant cut marks on the skulls of some specimen, more than they have found on the animal skulls. This could be evidence pointing to exo-cannibalism, which is a form of original cannibalism where they eat an individual belonging to either a different tribe or social group, like an eat your enemy kind of thing, which sounds absolutely horrid and disgusting. Sorry. It does seem like the individuals that were eventually eaten died of natural causes and were eaten to not let anything go to waste. Dire times ask for dire measures, it seems. Homo Antecessor, a species we do not know enough about at this point in time, and I hope time will reveal more of its secrets to us, the secrets belonging to this species. I did enjoy looking into one of our last common ancestors that we share with the Neanderthals, and I will cover Homo heidelbergensis in a video very soon on the channel, our definitive last common ancestor that we shared with the Neanderthals that we know of at this particular point in time. If there is one thing that I have learned with this new series about human evolution, it is that it's ever-changing. And as we find more and more pieces of this intricate puzzle, we will uncover more information and broaden our understanding of them. But with that said, if you enjoyed watching, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more of these kind of videos, and click that bell icon. Do it if you want to be notified whenever I upload, or do an impromptu live stream, like I will when I'm in Malta. Yes, I will live stream in Malta with Megalith Hunter. Go subscribe to her, by the way. If you haven't seen my previous videos yet, then there's a card in the upper right corner. You can click it, like right now or later. Always links in the description down below. And I would like to say a massive thank you to all my channel members and my patrons. I'm eternally grateful for all your support. And click a video in the end card if you have no idea what to watch. And with this was my face. This was Homo Antecessor. I think I've spoken enough by now. And yes, I first filmed this video while I still had music playing around in the background, because I am that kind of smart. I'm not smart. I'm a dum-dum. Okay, bye!